Look, we've all been there. We've bought the books, signed up for the courses, watched the videos, all promising life-changing transformation and inner peace. But at the end of the day, nothing really gets solved. We're left feeling frustrated, disillusioned, and wondering what went wrong. The cold, hard truth: most people never get results from inner work because they don't fully commit to the process. They dip their toes in but never take the plunge. Let me be blunt. Half-hearted efforts will only get you halfway there. You see, real inner transformation requires sustained dedication and unwavering motivation, and most importantly, the patience to integrate the lessons deeply into your being. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a journey of conscious living and embodiment. That's where I come in. I'm an expert at helping people like you blast through the barriers that hold you back from true integration. With my proven methods, you'll cultivate the mindset and discipline to make the teachings stick, not just intellectually, but at a soul level. We'll go beyond merely consuming information to actually live it. From dialing in your motivation to building unshakable habits, I'll be your guide. No more spinning your wheels. It's time to get traction and see real results. The path isn't easy, but nothing profound ever is. Are you ready to go all in on your growth and finally turn knowledge into power? Then let's get to work. Your transformation awaits. You want to know the biggest hurdle to real transformation? It's that delusional, egocentric bastard you call me. That knee-jerk narrator in your head justifying, defending, and clinging to limited perspectives. That voice seriously needs to be put in its place. You see, we're all trapped in our own personal prison cells. The walls built from years of conditioning, biases, and unquestioned beliefs about who we are. And that defensive identity mumbling away in your skull, it's the damn warden keeping you locked up. That relentless stream of I am statements looping through your mind are simply old programmed tapes playing on repeat. But you've mistaken them as stone cold reality rather than distorted reflections from a warped lens in desperate need of refocusing. When that blaring narrator remains unconscious, it righteously doubles down on its biased take as absolute truth. It goes to war to defend its limited vantage point as the only way of seeing, and in the process it cuts you off from perspectives and possibilities that could otherwise set you free. The cruel irony: your me believes it has all the answers while being the very obstacle obscuring them. It's drunk on self-certainty while being completely deluded about the tunnel vision it's trapped in. That's some dangerous sleepwalking shoot right there. But here's the silver lining. Once you start peeling back the layers of that egoic identity maze, you realize how much programming has been running your show behind the scenes. With persistent self-inquiry, you can start overriding those habituated mind viruses masquerading as your immutable truth. The nature of being human is that we filter everything through dense distortion fields of past experiences, future desires, and deeply ingrained cognitive biases, which is exactly why real growth hinges on courageous self-awareness to rein in that deluded narrator and shatter through its blind spots. It's time to stop indulging the myopic ramblings of habituated selfing and its endless confusion of thoughts as unchanging facts. Because until you transform that filter system, you'll keep struggling against the same imprisoning loop of reactive patterns and mock freedom. Getting free of that conditioned me is the first step in reclaiming your sovereignty. You want to go deeper? You got it? I'm about to take off the kid gloves and lay out exactly what separates the excuse makers from the champions. Listen up close. 1. Lack of commitment. Serious commitment requires more than lip service. It's forsaking any plan B. It's divorcing your identity from success or failure and devoting yourself to the process no matter what obstacles arise. It's being so resolute that even if your house burned down, you'd find a way to keep building on your self-awareness amid the ashes. Anything less is just delusion wrapped in personal agendas meant to keep you stuck. 2. Analysis paralysis. Each recycled insight you consume becomes another cozy barrier between you and actually exposing yourself to the risk of transformation. Enough navel-gazing. You already have all the knowledge you'll ever need. Now walk the darn walk by getting messy in the arena instead of hanging back analyzing from the bleachers. 3. Spiritual bypassing. Authenticity involves giving voice to your deepest fears, angers, and insecurities. Stop using spiritual concepts as a floaty bypass from feeling your underbelly of shame, grief, and unworthiness. You don't get to transcend the mud until you've waded through it. 4. Quick fix mentality. Impatience is the antithesis of real growth. Mastering a new way of being can't be rushed or hacked. It involves daily sacrifice, struggle, and a heroic tenacity to keep chipping away. Lasting change is etched one disciplined choice at a time until new grooves are permanently carved. 5. Intellectual understanding. Theory without practice is a pretty lie. You can perfectly mimic all the right concepts, but they're empty mantras until you've walked in those boots. It's time to close your books and burn away the intellectual arrogance. Now prove your understanding through every breath, choice, and action. 6. Inconsistency. Personal evolution lives or dies by the strength of your habits and rituals. You can't claim time scarcity when you're binging Netflix every night. Get ruthlessly disciplined about installing tiny daily disciplines that extinguish escapism and weak excuses. Without that backbone, growth is a featherweight whim. 7. Judgment mind. Having a cruel inner critic is the easy way out. It's letting negative self-talk bully you out of the arena. What takes real strength is looking that weaselly voice in the eye, breathing into it, and loosening its chokehold through loving patience with your shortcomings. 8. Rationalization. Playing the victim by listing all your reasons for being stuck merely sentences you to cyclical misery. Wake up. Your excuses are the very prison bars holding you captive. The only way out is to stop whining, own your power, and start creating your reality proactively. 9. Isolation. Thinking you can blaze this trail alone is arrogant and stupid. You're battling million-year-old psychological proclivities. You need a village to counter those tides. Find elders who have walked the coals before you and joined forces with others to quash toxic self-undermination. Lone wolves don't make it. And forgetting the big picture, when you're living just slightly larger than your fears, it's easy to drown in the details and doubt your vision. But you must frequently reconnect with your why. That struck by lightning purpose that makes all this grisly work worthwhile. Reignite that vision daily or abandon your post. Think you can handle going even deeper down the perception rabbit hole? Buckle up. 11. That commodified me has been reverse engineered by cultural viruses and external agendas to create an obedient consumer robot. Your unquestioned beliefs about success, happiness, and worthiness have been strategically programmed by societal forces to keep you perpetually chasing carrots they dangle. Time to deprogram from the matrix. 12. Your brain's neurological hardwiring is essentially an anticipatory machine. It takes its entire interpretation of the present moment from past memories, which is why you're rarely, if ever, experiencing raw reality. Instead, you're perceiving reruns of outdated imprints and calling it the immutable truth. Wake up! 13. That narrating voice you call me is a chronic liar and gaslighter of epic proportions. It rewrites history, ignores blind spots, and outright hallucinates false realities that get codified as your gospel identity. It's an untrustworthy narrator that needs to be regularly fact-checked and dethroned from its delusions of omniscience. 14. Every external perception you have is shaped by the neuro-linguistic software imprinted in your brain computer during childhood programming years. You're not seeing objective reality. You're seeing reflections of past wounding, limiting beliefs, and emotional landmines unconsciously mapped from that time. Hit the reprogram button. 15. That ego's excessive need for control, certainty, and a plotted future is avoidance in disguise. Its incessant craving to conceptualize all of life is an escape from being fully present and vulnerable to the precarious ambiguity of each unfolding moment. Relinquish the white knuckles to find security. 16. Your narrator suffers from a neurotic case of main character syndrome, constantly positioning itself as the heroic, victimized center of the universe. But its self-obsession disconnects you from the expansive whole into victimized smallness. Dethrone the main character and reclaim your rightful place as an infinite being. 17. That babbling narrator confuses its endless stream of symbolic words and images as equivalent to the ineffable, holistic reality those mere representations are pointing toward. Its either-or dichotomies and rigid categorizations are straitjackets obstructing your ability to hold paradox and contradiction. Become a graceful dancer rather than argumentative lawyer. 18. The ego is a serial reductionist. It cannot help but looking at everything through the diminishing prison of its fragmented, past-based psyche. With those blinders on, it truncates the vastness of any situation into an oversimplified caricature that obscures the stunning grandeur available to those open to truly living life. 19. Your personal narrator has zero intellectual honesty. It pathologically avoids any introspective inquiry that could dismantle its carefully curated facades and belief architectures. It would rather preserve its rickety delusions than humble itself before the truth and undertake meaningful growth work. No wonder inertia wins. 20. Ultimately, that yammering identity you call me is an absolute dictatorship of limitation and fear. Its single role is to erect perceptual blinders to protect you from uncertainty and existential expansion, keeping you at the gates of infinite possibility. You'll never actualize your greatness until you overthrow that insecure, totalitarian ego. This internal mockingbird filter falsifying your realities must be systematically dismantled, upgraded, and precisely recalibrated if you're to stand any chance of self-actualizing. Because in this moment, you have access to orders of magnitude more beauty, power, and boundlessness than that ego could ever dream of or perpetually project upon reality. Time to break on through to the other side. At the end of the day, this all comes down to one question. Are you ready to demolish the delusion factory that's been running your life on autopilot? For far too long, you've been caught in a hypnotic trance, mistaking the looping dreamscape created by your ego for sovereign reality. But the truth is, that internal narrator is a constricting chokehold, forcing you to view the universe through a pinhole. The great spiritual warriors and mystics have been trying to awaken you from this limiting psychosis for centuries. But most remain trapped in the infinite hall of mirrors, believing the reflections, doubling down on their distortions, and obstructing the boundless potential yearning to be realized. But you have the chance to become a true founder of sublime selflessness, to persistently question every cybernetic imprint and psychological hijacking until you alchemize your very mechanism of perceiving itself. It's the grandest form of jailbreak possible, an escape from the cramped, falling apart simulations into the terrifying liberation of infinity, an unstaking of your mistaken tent pegs to fully inhabit the formless vastness of what is. Yes, it's the most courageous journey a human can undertake, a voluntarily dismantling of your deeply grooved character structures, belief systems, and mental malware. A shedding of the limited self until all that remains is the freedom to perceive, know, and express the fullest extent of your being. It will bring you face to face with your deepest existential resistances. It will force you to stare down the throat of the void, embracing groundlessness and radical insecurity as the hidden keys granting access to true sovereignty. You'll be faced with a constant battle between armoring your old habits or courageously unlearning them, between collapsing into comfortable delusion or staying awake to confront uncomfortable revelations, between numbing out in autopilot or remaining hypervigilant to reroute the psychic viruses. The path will be the darkest, loneliest, most mercilessly confronting journey you've ever undertaken. Every step will rinse you of yet another hardwired limitation and facade of separation, until one day there's nothing left to cling to except the pulsating, borderless, unborn, undying awareness itself. So I'll ask you again, are you ready and willing to sacrifice every last comforting lie and psychological crutch, to be demolished and reborn into the dazzling clarity of the infinite unknown, to embark on an endless kaleidoscopic adventure of perpetually transcending the boundaries of your own perception? The choice is yours. Remain trapped in the hyper-limitations of ego's funhouse mirror maze, or undertake the great heroic work of shattering its every distorting lens until the undistilled, primordial boundlessness of isness can finally pour through. Freedom or self-imposed prison, unbounded awesomeness or sleepwalking mediocrity. So for the love of God and all that is holy, choose wisely.